Mhm. 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 Oh, apa? Micro type. That was okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Can you all see me?
Yes, Mataji, we can.
So we'll just start as soon as we get more participants.
Hare Krishna.
9 at the moment.
Hare Bol, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So if you can just bear with me a few minutes, we'll just wait for a few more to join because we're looking at just 9 participants. Make that 10. If I can just add, if you have your PDF copies of your Nectar of Devotion instruction or the actual book, it'll be a good idea to have that in front of you. So we can look at that from time to time. So Hare Krishna, all of you that just joined in, we'll just wait a few more minutes till we get a few more participants joining, and then we'll start. So if you can just have your Nectar devotion with you. If you have some paper and pen to make notes for yourself, now is a good time to get all of that ready. Also, just make sure, just a few things to consider. Just make sure that you're all on mute. And I'm looking at my time. I will just give the others a few more minutes, and then I'm going to go ahead and get started. And they can always join us when they do. I think everybody got the, I'm sure everybody would have got the text with the new, the ID.
Yeah, I'll just again repost on the group.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. And I also just did that, I think, about 5 minutes ago. Okay, so I'm just going to wait another minute or two, and then I'm going to go ahead and get started. So in the meantime, while you're waiting, if you can just pull up your PDF, your Nectar of instruction, have something to write with, paper, pen, because you're going to have to take notes. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead. It's 4:05. I'm gonna go ahead and get started. And as students join in, they can participate. So, Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to this Nectar of Instruction class. My name is Anandani Devidasi, and today it's my pleasure to be conducting this class with you. How the schedule is, it seems like we are going to be doing one class every 2 weeks. I'm hoping that we have an extended time. I should tell you at the outset. Firstly, can everyone hear me? Can everyone hear me? Okay, if you can just please mute the sound for me, please.
Mute the taco.
If you can just mute your sound so we can go ahead and get started.
No brain.
As I was saying, the Nectar of Instruction.
Mataji, just 1 second. Haribol Mataji.
Yes, yes.
I just went over to the other group and I saw everybody, there was like 15 people sitting in that meeting. So
Okay.
I told them all to transfer over. So they will be joining. So I request 2 minutes if
I'll
you.
just wait. Okay. Thank you. That's fine. Also, I think now is the best time to say that the WhatsApp group that we have, Bhakti Shastra English,
968.
it's a good idea if you constantly check your phone or check the WhatsApp messages so you can see if things have changed.
Nectar.
968 6793. 535. No. 351.
Pradeep, I think you're on mute.
Thank you, Gopal Radhe Prabhu.
No problem, Mataji. Thank you. Please, I request everybody, please pay attention to the group that's on WhatsApp. We will be sending all important details regarding the course over there. And please keep your mics on mute. Thank you. Haribol.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. I see we're looking at about quite a good amount of students and the numbers are increasing. So I'm going to go ahead just to start again. Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to this class on Nectar of Instruction. My name is Anandini Devi Dasi, and today it's my extreme pleasure to be joining you, and I should say co-hosting, facilitating, or for want of a better word, I am going to be learning with you, because the last I did or looked at the Nectar of Instruction, which is an honest confession, is more than about 20, 21 years ago. So for me, sometimes when you read something, you think you know everything, you put it aside, you don't look at it again. So I've picked up my copy and I have to show you, you can see it's really an old copy. It's been with me for more than 20 to 30 years. So thank you so much for joining this class. I'm going to go ahead. I want to tell you at the outset, just make sure your mics are on mute. That's one thing. Make sure you have paper and pen, because that's the school teacher in me. You're going to have to take notes. I'm using a PowerPoint. I will send you the PowerPoint before the classes end. If you can please make a note to send me your email address, and I will be sure before the evening's over to send you the entire PowerPoint with the homework and everything included in it. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Today, because it's just the introductory, I'm just going to do the preface, which is an introduction lesson, and we're going to go into text 1. And when I see you again in 2 weeks' time, remember next Saturday, and welcome all of the new participants. Remember next Saturday is going to be Isha Upanishad with Radhacharan Prabhu, and then I will meet you all again at 4 p.m. the Saturday after that, which is the 20th of June. So at the outset, we have a lot of time constraints. We have just this month and July to get the entire book done. I'm hoping we can go into August. Let's just see what happens. We'll play it by ear, because you still have to take an exam on this. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Today, the lesson objective, I'm going to start off by looking at what is the purpose of Nectar of Instruction. Why do we study it? Then we're going to look, and if you can follow my mouse, we're going to look at the preface. We're going to look at a little bit about Rupa Goswami, his background, most importantly, Srila Prabhupada, and what instructions he has given us in the preface. And then we're going to look at a few themes that flow throughout the book. And the major part of today's class is going to be text. For those that have just joined, if you can just mute your mic, please, that'll be a great help. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next slide. So if you look at this, I'm going to give you just a very brief introduction, and you can see this on your screen. Like you see, this Nectar of Instruction is only 11 texts. Now, some of you may say, oh my gosh, that is so nice. Yes, it is. But this 11 texts have all of the information we ever want to know in it. It's not like as detailed in that many verses like the Bhagavad Gita. It's 11 texts, but it's got all of the information, all of the power that's packed into these 11 verses. So today, and I thought this was very important to look at, and you can see I've got this from the Bhakti Shastri Student Guide from the Mayapur Institute. And I think you all have access to this as well. If you don't, I will send all of this to you. So today we're only going to look at the preface, the goal of Krishna consciousness, and how to attain it. And we're going to go into text 1, which is controlling the 6 urges. Now, what is this Nectar of Instruction about? Basically, this Nectar of Instruction is all about how to live your life in a Krishna conscious way. It's sort of like a guidebook, how to, a manual of the do's and the don'ts. It ranges from how to choose a guru, how to practice yoga, where to live, how to make friends, what type of friends to have, what type of friends to not have. All of these things are contained in this book. And if you just follow these 11 texts and live according to these 11 texts, your life is going to be very successful. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave us the Sikshastakam, just 8 verses. Rup Goswami gave us these 11 verses. He took compassion on us and he provided us with these 11 texts. And if we study this and make it like so important to our lives, then you'll find that you will see the success coming. So let me just look at this. The first, and I'm going to quickly go through. Can you see the first 7? This is Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. That means this is just follow the rules and regulations as recommended in the Shastra. So these 11 texts, and I'm going to quickly move back and forth. These first 7 texts deal with just following rules and regulations. So you can see text 1, controlling our 6 urges. Text 2, what are the obstacles to our devotional service? And it goes all the way through to 11. So the first 7 deal with Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. That means following rules and regulations of the scriptures. And by the way, if I'm moving a bit too fast, you can just send me a message on the chat and I will slow down. And then text 8 moves on to the next level, which is spontaneous devotional service. And then 9, 10, and 11 move on to the last 2, the higher and highest, which is Bhava Bhakti and Prema Bhakti. So Bhava Bhakti means that preliminary love for Krishna, and Prema Bhakti, the ultimate or pure love of Krishna. So does that make sense to everyone? That we looking at all 11, first 7 rules and regulations, then spontaneous, 8, 9, 10, and 11 go on with how to achieve that pure love of Krishna. So this I thought was very important for me to include. And just one quick note, Madhurima, can you just mute your mic for me, please?
Huh?
Just mute your sound. Muted. Thank you. Thank you. So here, if you look at this Nectar of Instruction, and for those of you that don't know, this is the older copy. This is a picture of Srila Rupa Goswami's Samadhi at the Radha Damodar temple. So like I told you, and I'm going to be flipping back and forth, the first 3 texts deal with, there are 9 stages of bhakti, starting from Shraddha, and moving all the way to Prema. Now, if you can see my hands, it's like climbing a ladder. We're going to start off with Shraddha, which is text 1, and then move all the way to 11. And as we move, we're climbing the ladder higher till we get to the final text, which is text 11, and that deals with Prema. So Shraddha, what do we do, or what are we studying in Shraddha? So let's just go back. Shraddha is the first 3 texts. So it's controlling the 6 urges, which we're going to look at today. What are all the different things that are a hindrance or an obstacle to devotional service? That means, in an easy way, things that are not good for our sadhana, not good for our devotional service. And text 3 talks about the principles that help our devotional life. So these 3 texts deal with Shraddha, or the beginnings of getting your faith. And your faith at these 3 levels, or these 3 texts, your faith can be compared to a banana tree. It's not so firm, but it's just getting its roots into the ground. Then text 4, 5, and 6 loving exchanges, association according to levels of advancement, and associating with the pure devotee. 4, 5, and 6 deal with sadhu sangha. For those of you that don't, okay, let's just give me 1 minute. There's one person, Gopal Radhe Prabhu, can you just send the text back, because there's one person that is wanting to know if there's any class today. So I don't think he got the...
You have a name for that person?
His name is Sunil Inchal.
Well, I think I gave them the info.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. So moving back to 4, 5, and 6, that deals with sadhu sangha. Sadhu sangha in simple English, or to tell you in English, means who we associate with. How do we choose our friends? How do we choose who to receive instructions from? How do we, whose lectures do we listen to? Which gurus do we follow? So all of it deals with sadhu sangha. Then 7, and I'm going to go back to this. So sadhu sangha is 4, 5, and 6. And then 7, you can see this wonderful young devotee. And what do you think it seems like he's doing? Yes, he's holding his bead bag. He's chanting. So text 7, the main idea here is chanting the holy names. So it corresponds with the 4 stages of bhakti. So our faith is getting more fixed up. So now we are in the stage when we get to chanting. Text 7, we are looking at bhajana kriya, which means doing service, engaging in the service of the Lord. Then after that, it goes on to anartha nivritti. That means all of the anarthas, all of the unwanted obstacles in our heart, all of that starts decreasing. Why? Because we're putting more faith in the holy name, in the chanting. And the next level after that is nishta. And nishta is when you find that you're getting that steadiness, your faith is becoming more steady, more fixed up. And ruchi is the final stage in this text, is when you start developing that taste. That taste for what? For chanting, for doing devotional service. So is everybody with me thus far? That we looked at 1 to 3, which is Shraddha, our faith. 4, 5, and 6, sadhu sangha, associating. 7, chanting. Now just to let you know, this first 3 verses, the sadhaka or the practicing devotee, he here or she is focused mainly on himself. They're going inwards. They're being more introspective. Introspective meaning they're looking within. How to improve yourself. How to make yourself a better person. Then Sadhu Sangha, it's you and others, you and other devotees. And then this stage of chanting, it's back again to you and how you are making further advancement. And then text 8, which we're going to look at next month, looks at Asakti. And this is where you're starting to get attachment to Krishna and attachment to devotional life. And I'm going to go very quickly to this. You can see we no more now under rules and regulations, no more under Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. When we do Asakti, it means spontaneous devotional service. This is called Raganuga, spontaneous. It just comes from within. You have that just love or that desire to serve the Lord. And finally, the last 3 deal with Bhava Bhakti, which is the preliminary or the beginning stages of love for Krishna. And it culminates with Prema Bhakti, which is the pure love of Krishna. And the corresponding texts in the NOI, when I say NOI, I mean Nectar of Instruction, we're looking at where to stay, which are the holiest places. We're going to end up with the glories of Radha Kund, which devotees to associate with, where to live, the power or potency of the Dham. So that going back now, that takes us directly to the lotus feet of this blue-eyed boy who is none other than Lord Krishna. So I'm going to stop. Is there any questions, any comments thus far? Anybody wants to share anything? Oh, okay. I just got a quick comment that I'm talking a little too fast. Okay.
Huh?
I'm sorry, guys, for that. I will try to just slow it down. So I'm just going to go back and just reiterate, repeat this. We're looking at 11 texts. We're going to spread it over 2 months. We're looking today at only the intro or the preface and the first text, but by the end of this book, we'll be done with 11 texts. We're looking at from the first stage of bhakti, which is Shraddha, then moving to Sadhu Sangha, then moving to devotional service, Bhajana Kriya, getting rid of our unwanted desires, Anartha Nivritti, being steady, Nishta, getting some love or taste, which is Ruchi, then doing text 8, spontaneous love, and finally the beginnings of love, and finally the pure love for Krishna. So if that is okay with anyone, everybody's okay with that. Let me just check if anybody has any comments. Okay, I'm talking too fast again. I'm sorry, I must apologize. I'm gonna be a little bit slower. So we're gonna move on. So this is just, now, I thought it very essential that I spend a little bit of time giving you the background. And I think when I looked at the participants, I think a lot of you are high school, middle school, younger kids. So I don't know how much you know, but nothing's better than just going over all of this again. So here,
Content, I just got the code from. It's nice.
if you can just mute your mic, please. Everyone, please mute your mic. So let me just continue. We needed to look now at the background of Rup Goswami. So who was he? What was his instructions that he received from Mahaprabhu? And you can see he's in the middle of my PowerPoint because he received instructions from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he didn't just keep it for himself. He passed it on. He gave his blessings to none other than our divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And in turn, Prabhupada gave our blessings, or gave these blessings, passed it on to us. So that's how it is a disciplic succession. So just to put this into picture, Rup Goswami appeared in the year 1489. He passed on in 1564. Originally, the family was from Karnataka. But as the time went by, they moved to East Bengal. They were a family of 6 children, 1 girl and 5 boys. And out of the 6 children, Rup Goswami, his brother Sanatan, and his brother Vallabh were very pious. Rup and Sanatan were initially known as Amara and Santosh. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave them the names later on, Rup Sanatan, and Vallabh got the name Anupam. So when they first met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I don't think I need to spend too much of time about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All of you know the background. Mahaprabhu came to earth more than 500 years ago. He came in the guise of a devotee to give us this love of Krishna, to show us how we can attain pure love of Krishna by chanting the holy names of the Lord. And these 6 Goswamis, Rup Goswami being the leader of them, there were 5 others. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave them many instructions. And Rup Goswami took these instructions and wrote many, many books. One such book is what we are studying, this Nectar of Instruction. So when Rup Goswami and his brother Sanatan Goswami and their brother Anupam met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, at that time they were working for or taking care of the Nawab Hussain Shah, the king of Bengal, the Muslim king. They were working in his government. So some of you may say, how? They were Hindus. How did they work? Why did they go and work for the king under his government? That doesn't sound right. What happened was, long story short, the king found out that they were very influential people. They were very good devotees. So he wanted them as his chief ministers. He wanted them to work under his care. And he felt that by getting these 2 brothers to work for him, he was going to get all of the Hindu population to listen to him. So what better way than to get Rup and Sanatan to work in his government? So this is what the king told the brothers. If you become my chief ministers, I'll protect you and the Hindu community. If you don't, I will persecute the Hindu community. So obviously Rup and Sanatan Goswami, they are, in Sanskrit we use the term para dukha dukhi. They had no troubles, but they were unhappy to see the troubles of others. So surely they did not want to see the Hindu community persecuted. So they obliged, they listened to the king, and they went and they worked for the king. But please be mindful that during the time of them working with the king or working for the king, externally they were working for the king, but internally they were still practicing all of this devotional service. Their hearts and mind and entire soul was at the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the brothers accepted this position, and they became disciples of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu instructed them to do 3 things. He said, go to the holy land of Vrindavan, and when you get there, you need to unearth or excavate the holy places. You need to then establish prominent temples. Therefore, we get Govinda, Gopinath, Madan Mohan, all these important temples. And finally, lastly, he said, don't just build all these temples and excavate the holy places. Don't stop there. Go one step further and write books on this philosophy. Spread these teachings for people in the future. So that's what Rup Goswami did. And that's how we get this Upadeshamrita. So for those of you that don't know, Upadeshamrita, Amrita means nectar and Upadesh means instructions. So therefore we get this nectar of instructions. And in the preface, Srila Prabhupada makes a very beautiful statement. He starts off the preface by saying that this Krishna consciousness movement is conducted under the supervision of Srila Rup Goswami. Such profound words. For me, I think it shows the humility of Srila Prabhupada. He gives all of the respect and all of the credit to Rup Goswami. Whereas we know that Srila Prabhupada also did a whole lot. If it wasn't for him, we would certainly not be in ISKCON today. And going back to this, so Srila Prabhupada got his inspiration from Rup Goswami. That's why we are known as Rupanugas. We are known as followers in the footsteps of Rup Goswami. So if we want to please Rup Goswami, we just have to take these instructions, these 11 texts, try to memorize them, at least the first one, and make it our life and soul. So now I'm going to move on to Srila Prabhupada and where he fits in the picture. So just to sum up thus far, I told you about who Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was. I told you about his 3 instructions to Rup Goswami and the other 5 Goswamis. He said, go to Vrindavan, excavate the holy places, build these temples, and spread this philosophy, write books. So let's go back to Srila Prabhupada, or let's come back. And there's a devotee, Srimati Mataji. She was kind enough to share this information, and I got this from a guide that Gopal Radhe Prabhu shared as well with some of the devotees, where it explains how Srila Prabhupada got inspiration from Rup Goswami. Going back in time, Srila Prabhupada, before he came to the West, he was invited by the priest Gaurchand Goswami of the Radha Damodar Mandir. And Prabhupada moved into the Radha Damodar temple in July of 1962. Now, why Radha Damodar temple of all the temples? Because this is where, remember I showed you the picture a few slides back of that Samadhi? That's where the Samadhi is located. If you have had the good fortune of going to Radha Damodar temple, we always go and pay our obeisances and sit and chant at the Samadhi. So Srila Prabhupada's desire was to live, to serve, and to write under the shelter of Srila Rup Goswami. And I'm going to share something that I read in this guide that really touched my heart. This Goswami, Gaurchand Goswami, his son shares a very important, or an anecdote, I should say, with us. He says that Srila Prabhupada told his grandfather that at Radha Damodar temple, he got direct instruction from his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj, to go to the West. And I'm going to read this. Not just permission, but an order. Quote, now you must go there. So Srila Prabhupada asked, how shall I do this? He was told by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj, quote, it is Rup Goswami's order. It is his power that gives you these feelings. So if you start to go there, there will be no problem, unquote. So you can see that Srila Rup Goswami, and I'm sorry, I need to just quickly go back. So you can see that Srila Rup Goswami, through Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj, gave Srila Prabhupada these direct instructions that just these feelings that you have, this is Rup Goswami's mercy on you. Go to the West, spread this Krishna consciousness movement. So basically, this nectar of instruction tells us how to, the do's and don'ts. So how do we do this? Let's move on. I'm going to now move straight to the preface. If you have your PDF, or if you have the hard copy of the book and you want to open up to it, and I have my copy with me as well, you can go straight to the preface and we'll quickly look at this. Are there any comments or questions at this time? Let me quickly check. Just give me a couple of minutes. Okay. So let's just going back, or going to the preface. The most important thing Srila Prabhupada starts off with is, he says, this Krishna consciousness movement is conducted under whose supervision? Under the supervision of Srila Rup Goswami. So you see in all his humility, Srila Prabhupada first gives credit and thanks to Rup Goswami. And then the preface goes on to talk about who the 6 Goswamis were, which we covered. They were disciples of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Their job was to unearth the temples and preach this Krishna consciousness philosophy. And then if you look at the next page, Srila Prabhupada goes on to say, what is our duty? Our first duty is to do what? In all spiritual affairs, to quote Prabhupada's words, our first duty, or one's first duty, is to control his mind and senses. So what is the gist of this nectar of instruction? How are you going to make your life so successful? It's just a few words. You have to control your mind and your senses. It's easy, isn't it? Actually, no, it's not so easy. It seems very easy, but it's actually not. So that's what, excuse me, one second. So the whole gist of this is that we have to control our mind and senses. And Srila Prabhupada says that there's 3 levels. The mode of ignorance, then the mode of passion, finally the mode of goodness. So we want to transcend. We want to leave that mode of ignorance. We want to leave the mode of passion. We want to climb up to that mode of goodness. That's where we all want to be at. Am I right? Does anybody want to be in ignorance or passion? Sometimes maybe those modes take control of us, yes. But we want to shake that off and go straight to the mode of goodness. So how do we do that? Srila Prabhupada says it's easy. Just follow these 11 texts. Just follow everything that Rupa Goswami has given us. And finally, for me, this part, the next part, and I'm going to just put my mouse on this to show you. Everything depends on what? How do we control our mind? How do we control our senses? Everything depends on our attitude. Look at Srila Prabhupada's words, quote, advancement in Krishna consciousness depends on the attitude of the follower. And he goes on to say, the attitude should be that of a perfect Goswami. Now, if you visit Vrindavan, you see most of the temples, most of their last names are always, I can remember Padmanabh Goswami or Chandan Goswami, all of them have. So what is the meaning of the word Goswami? Goswami is it's a combination of 2 words or 2 syllables, Go and Swami. So Swami means master, Go means senses. So we want to be the master of our senses. We want to be the boss of our senses. We want to control our senses. What is the opposite of Goswami? Yes, the opposite is Godas, to be the servant of your senses. Does anybody want to be a slave to his senses? Does anyone want to be a servant to their senses? Absolutely. No, no, no. I see some hands going up. No, no. Those hands have to come straight down, because we sometimes, yes, we are not going to be too proud. Sometimes, yes, the different modes grab us, but we have to be strong. We have to have the good attitude to fight all of that. We want to always be in the mode of goodness by reading scriptures, by getting inspiration from Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. We are so fortunate that we have this Krishna consciousness movement to do all of that. So Srila Prabhupada concludes the preface and he says, I'm just looking at my time, so I will move on. Srila Prabhupada, actually this preface, if you look at it, it was a letter that Prabhupada wrote in September of 1975. So he goes on to say is that once you become a Goswami, then your life will be successful. So what is the goal of Krishna consciousness? To become a Goswami. And from becoming a Goswami, we then gonna rise up and become a pure devotee. That is our ultimate goal. So the goal is to become a pure devotee, to become a Goswami, and then move on to becoming a pure devotee. And what is the means of attaining this goal? How do we attain this? How do we become a Goswami? How do we become a pure devotee? We have to follow all of these instructions with the right attitude. So the right attitude is key. And I will discuss this as we move later on. I'm going to take a quick pause here, a pause for a minute. Anyone, and just give me 1 second to check my chat. Anybody has any other questions? No. Okay, Godas means, one question, Godas means to be the servant of your senses and not your master. So that word we don't want to focus, we're not going to have that in our vocabulary because we don't want to be a Godas. We all want to be a Goswami. So I'm going to move on. I think I basically covered. I'm looking at throughout the 11 texts that we're going to cover. These are the 7 main themes, and you can see I bold faced the first 2. Today's is going to look at mind and sense control and what is our attitude. So these are the first 2 themes that we're going to be covering, or we're starting to cover today. And then as we progress, we'll look at what is ISKCON's purpose. And if you look at it, Guru and Disciple, Sadhu Sangha, which is 3 whole texts, the devotees we associate with, the different kinds. And by the way, it's nice. I can see some of you taking notes. That's really nice. You can just write a few pointers for yourself. I will share this PowerPoint with you. Just make sure that before the class is over, you send me your email. So I will send all of this to you. But it's so nice that when you take your notes, so you can always just keep looking back at it. So we're looking at Sadhu Sangha, how to associate with devotees, the different levels of devotees, the different behaviors and qualifications of the different types of devotees, who to associate with, who to give our association to, who to share association with, and also who to take association from. Remember, we don't interact with all devotees in the same way. Some devotees that are at our level, we share our knowledge. We talk about things. Devotees that are just newer than us, we give our association to them. We help them. And devotees that are senior to us, we take their association. So it's important later on, text 4 to 6, we're going to look at all of this. And then throughout the 11 texts, we're going to look at the different stages of bhakti, from Shraddha going all the way to Prema, and looking at the different texts. Let me move on. So that was the intro and preface. If anybody has anything to share, you can please feel free to unmute your mic if you want to share something, and then I can just move on to the first text. I'll give you a couple of seconds. Anybody wants to share? You can go ahead and share. Am I going too fast? Is it okay?
Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, instead of taking everybody's email, you'll have to send everybody one by one. You can just post the presentation on the group and everybody can take it.
Okay.
So
Great
everybody
idea.
can download at their own convenience.
Sure. I'll do that. Thank you, Prabhu.
It'll be less work for you. Thank you. Mataji.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. Anybody has any questions, any comments? If not, I'd like to move on. For those of you that don't have the actual text one, so just to give you a quick update, I'm not going to do more than text one. I'm only going to look at text one, the intro, which I just did, and the preface, and text one for today. In the other classes, I'm going to obviously compress, because remember, I'm only going to see you twice a month, because I share my Saturdays with Isha Upanishad. So 1 week is Nectar of Instruction, NOI, the other week is Isha Upanishad. So I'm hoping, let's see if we can go into August, because it's Saturdays and that's a good day. Let's see what the Bhakti Shastri admin group decides. But if we can, that'll be good. If not, because of time constraints, I'm going to have to take the 10 remaining texts and compress them into the next 3 classes. which I really wouldn't like to do because I like to have a detailed analysis of everything. But if I have to, I will do it. Okay, so let's just look at this text one. So I'm going to go ahead. I'll read the Sanskrit. I'll read the translation, and then I'm going to move on with that. So if you have, even if your mic is off, that's fine. You feel free. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji, definitely I would like to have email instead of, because that's gonna be problem for me.
Oh, sure, not a problem. Whatever works for you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Whatever works for you. I'm on summer vacation, so I have more than enough time to respond to everybody's email. By the way, at the end of my PowerPoint, I'll have my cell number and my email address, so you can feel free to text and email.
Thank you.
And we can correspond like that. Okay, let me just go ahead with this. Oh, text one. Vacho vegam manasakrodha vegam jiva vegam udarapasto vegam etan vegam yo visaheta dira sarvam apimam prithvim shasisyat. So I'm going to say it once more and then I'll look at the translation. Vacho vegam manasa krodha vegam jiva vegam udarapasto vegam etan vegam yo visaheta dhira sarvam apimam prithvim shashishyat. Translation: a sober person who can tolerate the urge. I'm going to be pointing out all 6. Now remember, what was the title we looked back at? And I'm going to quickly just refresh.
Please mute your mic.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Prabhu Hemagovind, Prabhu, just mute your mic, please. Yeah, thank you. So let's look at what was the title of text 1? The 6 urges. So let's look at it. A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals, is qualified to make disciples all over the world. So let me say that again. Let's look at the 6 urges, and this is what we're going to do. So straight after this, we're going to go into Srila Prabhupada's purport, and we're going to break down each of the urges. We're going to look at each one and what are the problems with the urge, what are the problems we face, and what is the solution to it. Now you can offer solutions as well. If you come up with a better suggestion, if you have a way that works for you, that is going to be part of your homework. And I'm going to give you all the homework at the end. Your homework is also going to be, so just keep this in the back of your mind. Part of your homework is going to be, how are you able to control these 6 urges? Now, I'm sure there's not going to be everyone that says, oh, Mataji, I don't have a problem. I've conquered all 6 of them. I don't have a problem with any of it. No, no, no. Even the very best of devotees, we all struggle. Remember, we are in this material world. Dukhalayam ashashvatam. It's always suffering and pain and pleasure, everything mixed together. So a sober person. Who is somebody that's sober? Somebody that's intelligent, somebody that's using his mind in the right way. A sober person who can tolerate. Tolerate means it's going to trouble you. That means you have to, like sometimes, how can I use the word tolerate in another context? Let's say like, oh, you know, I just have to tolerate this. That means it's troubling me. I'm having a problem, but I have to just live with it and deal with it the best way I know how. So that's what tolerate is. To know that we have these. So I personally feel that when we recognize that these are all the urges we have, that we have to live with this throughout our lives, and we make that effort that I will tolerate it, I will work or do my best, then that helps us progress or advance to the next level and the next level and the next level. So again, quickly, what are the 6 urges? And for you younger children, when I see you anytime in the temple, I'm going to ask you. So please try to memorize the urge to speak, 1. 2, the mind's demands on us. Anger, which is the actions of anger. The urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals. So we have to conquer all 6. And if we conquer all 6, what does Rupa Goswami tell us? We can make disciples all over the world. So basically, this is taken for granted from this, that obviously our spiritual masters are at this level. We know that. They have conquered all of these edges. They are at that stage where they have so much of potency and power. And for future gurus as well, all of you up and coming rising devotees, one day you're also going to have students. You're also going to have students that you teach or discuss with them Krishna consciousness. So when you are able to tolerate these urges, that's when you know you are being successful in Krishna consciousness. So I'm going to now move on to the next slide. So basically, if you looked at the text, I put this here because I wanted you to see this repetition of the word Vegam. Pacho Vegam, Manasa, Krodha Vegam. Everywhere you find, you just see the word Vegam, Vegam, Vegam. What does this word Vegam means? It's more than a desire. It's an urge. It's something that you don't know what to do when it takes a hold of you. Sort of, you can't control it. From the word urge, we get urgent. It bugs you. You have to, you find yourself, even sometimes you know better, but you still find yourself being carried away by this urge. So therefore, the urge is something that just we have no control over. Whether it's the urge of speech, anger, mind, tongue, the belly, or the genitals, this urge takes control of us. So to become a good devotee means to recognize that, yes, I have these urges. And from time to time, it's going to rear its ugly head. It's going to come up in my life. But we also have to have, solutions or strategies. How am I going to deal with it? We need to plan. We can't wait for the urge to happen and then say, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? We have to make plans. Okay, if this happens, then what is my backup plan? What am I going to do? So let me move on. I'm going to go on to this. This I got from Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. You can see the source is Bhakti Courses. He very so kindly put this on the internet for devotees to use. And I like this mind map. This tells us it's the entire text 1 in a mind map. So I'm going to explain it to you. If you have any questions about it, please let me know. I'm going to give you a little bit of background. I should suggest, please don't try to read everything at one time now, because there's too much of information. You're going to get a little bit confused. You're going to say, Mataji, there's just words all over the place. Follow with me. Just follow my arrow and I'll make sense of all of it. If you're having a problem, let me just see my chat again. Okay, right. So if you just follow with me. So where does Maharaj Parikshit come into this? We're looking at this urge. What is atonement? What is he talking about? Let me give you the background. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 1, Text 9 and 10, Maharaj Parikshit asked Sukadev Goswami some very important questions. And one such question he asks is, he wants to know, how can a person free himself from sinful activities so that at the end of his life, he does not go to the hellish planets? So let me say that again. Maharaj Parikshit asked Sukadev Goswami, how do people not, or how can people not go to hell at the end of their life? What can we do to make sure that at the end of our lives, we don't go to the hellish planet. And that was his question. You can see another self-realized soul that was so thoughtful, that wanted to help all of us in the future. So Sukadev Goswami answered him. Sukadev Goswami said, the process is to counteract. You're going to sin your whole life. So how do you make up for this sin? So Sukadev Goswami says, how you make up is you practice atonement. Atonement means you just make up. You do something wrong and you atone for it. That means you do something right to make that wrong thing right. Sort of, you do a wrong thing and then you make up for it. And then after that, everything should be good. So I want to tell you that Sukadev Goswami was actually testing Maharaj Parikshit. He was testing him to see what he would say about this whole atonement. So Maharaj Parikshit studied a few, now I'm going to move on to this. Maharaj Parikshit studied a few analogies. And when he looked at these analogies, he comes to a conclusion. But before I look at that conclusion, let me explain the three analogies. And all of this is from the Bhaktivedanta commentary, from Srila Prabhupada's purport to the text one. So going back, Parikshit Maharaj says, he gives the first example of a thief and a police. So he says, there's three types of people. There's one type of person, when they just hear about stealing, maybe they watch it on the news, or they read a newspaper article about stealing, and they look at the consequence. Oh, if you steal, you're going to go to jail, you have to pay a fine. And that person says, oh, no, stealing is not for me. I will not do that. So that person is intelligent. He refrains from stealing. He doesn't steal. He doesn't have to steal because just hearing about stealing is good enough for him to deter him from stealing. Then you get the less intelligent. This kind of person, he has to try it out. He goes ahead and he steals. And you know how the law works. When he steals, he gets arrested. That's his punishment. His atonement is he has to make up for it by going to jail or pay a fine. And when he comes out of jail, then he decides, okay, I'm going to stop stealing. This was not good. I paid for my sins of stealing. I'm not going to do it. Then Srila Prabhupada uses his famous words, rascal, which I don't think we can use too loosely. Only Srila Prabhupada has the power to use this word. Srila Prabhupada says, the foolish person or the rascal, he steals. He gets arrested. He atones for stealing in that he spends time in jail. He pays a fine or he spends time in jail, whatever the punishment is. And when he comes out of jail, what do you think he does? Do you think he learns his lesson? Nope. Remember, he's a foolish person. So he goes again and he steals again and he keeps doing it. So it becomes like a vicious cycle. So that's one analogy. Second analogy is the elephant taking a bath. And if you've watched videos or you've been in India where you've seen it, you'll notice that the elephant goes and takes a very nice bath with his trunk and putting water all over him. He has a good bath and you think, oh, wow, so nice. And then you watch and the elephant comes out of that lake or that pond. And what does he do straight after? Straight after. He lays down in the mud and starts rolling in the mud. So was that bath beneficial? The fact that he just had a bath in the lake or the river or the stream? No, because he goes back to bathing and he does it over and over again. And the last analogy is about a person that goes to confession, to church. He goes on Saturday to church and he confesses, Father, forgive me if I've sinned. And then the way it works at church, the priest forgives. The priest says, yes, you are forgiven, my child. So what does the person do from Sunday to the next Saturday? They start all over again. Because according to their mind, I've repented, I've atoned, I've gone to church, the priest has forgiven me, so all of my sins are taken care of. So Sunday, they start again, back to square one. So they start sinning all over again, and come next Saturday, the same thing goes over and over again. So what?
Mataji, I have a question.
Yes. Yes, go ahead.
Mataji, with all due respect, I think none of these three analogies example are the right like explanation for atonement. Atonement is kind of a self-imposed when you feel like you have done something wrong,
Mhm.
you want to punish yourself, and that's kind of a prashchit, atonement.
Yes, yes.
These are more like thief and police. This is more like a punishment thing. Somebody else is giving punishment.
Mhm.
Similarly for elephant and bat thing, he doesn't know what he is doing, so that's not a good analogy for atonement. And confession is also is something, when you feel guilty, you want to confess and you
Mhm.
want to move on, you don't want to punish yourself. That is also not a right example for atonement, I think.
I just want to say that I took this from Prabhupada's purports. Prabhupada goes on in the purport. These analogies is not something that I made up, Prabhu. I took this from Prabhupada. If you look at Nectar of Instruction, the text 1, page 2 and 3, Prabhupada talks about these very 3 analogies. So maybe it makes sense in that, yes, atonement, yes, prayaschit means it has to come from within, but that comes later on. That is real atonement. The prayaschit, or that's the actual real atonement. You are talking about, yes, you are right in a sense where when you realize that you are doing the wrong thing and you want to make amends, that comes late. See the arrow here? That falls under real atonement. This analogies is what people that don't know any better, this is what they do. This is not the real prayaschit. Does that make sense to you? The real prayaschit or atonement comes little later on. This is by far most people that you find, whether they are devotees or they're going to be soon to be devotees. This is how they atone for their sins. And for them, they know no better. For them, this works. But for us that are Krishna conscious, we know that there's a higher method. Does that make sense? Okay?
Yes, thank you, Mataji.
You're most welcome. So let's just move on. So now, and going back to what you just said, Sukadev Goswami. Yes, Prabhu.
I'm sorry. Can I answer to that?
Yes,
The
sure.
analogies. Okay, I'm sorry. I just wanted to answer to this. So what Prabhuji was saying, that prayaschita means, what he's talking about is the physical or giving self-imposed.
Okay.
But here Prabhupada is actually talking about different kinds of atonements.
Mm-hmm.
So the thief and the police and the confession is like a more on a mental stage.
Mm-hmm.
And the thief and the police is more on the physical stage where somebody else is given, but you get a physical atonement, punishment. And the elephant and the bat is more of a self, like you do it yourself, but not. So these analogies in one way are also atonement,
Yes.
but not if we take atonement just like self-imposed atonement. Atonements can be different ways. Prayaschita means in one way to regret what we have done. So regression doesn't only mean that we do something physically or something, but also on mental level and all. So these are actually, in Bhagavatam actually puts this. This is not even Srila Prabhupada's analogies. This is Parikshit Maharaj's analogies that he puts forward. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gopal Radhe. Prabhu, that was well said. So just moving on from there, like I just said, these analogies show us the different levels. And we know that Krishna consciousness is a stage higher than that. So this is, like you said, on the mental platform. We have all of these things where people have different issues. They confess, they do the wrong things, and they just happy doing all of that. And then moving on, what is the real atonement? Srila Prabhupada says that it is awakening our dormant, KC meaning Krishna consciousness, awakening, doing tapasya, awakening reviving Dormant means it is there, it is within our heart, but we may not be aware of it. So we just need to wake it up. We need to revive it. Like somebody is going for having a heart attack and they, put all these machines on them and they try to revive that heart, like jumpstart, kickstart that heart. So in the same way, this helps us. The real atonement helps us awaken our dormant Krishna consciousness. So how do we do that? Now going back, there's two methods. One method is to get training according to the regulative principles. And this, look at where my arrow is at. There's two methods here. The first one is traditional tapasya. That means doing all of the austerities, keeping vows of celibacy, brahmachari, following austerities like following Ekadasi fast, fasting, being truthful, controlling your mind and senses, keeping clean, being renounced, following the different yoga asanas. So all of this falls under the traditional. Yes, oh, I'm sorry, what am I doing with this? All of this is following, I think I'm just making lines of this. I apologize, guys. So all of this follows the traditional methods, but it is gonna take us to eventually to reviving our Krishna consciousness. But it's a much slower process. It's a gradual process to reach bhakti. We will get there, but not as quick as if we follow this method. See this method, the Pancharatrika, according to scriptural references, according to Shastra, according to Rupa Goswami's method, this tells us the do's and don'ts of spiritual life. So this is the quick and easiest and safest and the best method to really atone, to make up for all of the things that we've done wrong, to awaken our Krishna consciousness. And what do we do here? We practice bhakti under the guidance of a guru, in the association of devotees, and we follow the 4 regulative principles, which you all know: no meat eating, fish and eggs, no illicit sex, no intoxication, no gambling. So I'm looking at all of this. Is this okay with anybody? I'm going to quickly look at my questions. Is anybody have? Oh, I'm going a little too fast for some of you. Okay, I'll try to slow it down a little. Let me just move, just to recap on this. How to really atone, to awaken our dormant Krishna consciousness. We just have to follow Rupa Goswami. We just have to follow and do all the things that are necessary in our spiritual life. We need to chant, we need to follow the 4 regulative principles, we need to follow Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Oh my gosh, just give me 1 second, guys. I need to get, oh, I'm sorry for that, guys. I just need to get rid of that. Okay, we're moving on to the next one. Just 1 second. I may need some computer help. Anybody out there can just help me with this? Okay.
Control Z will help.
Yes. Just 1 second. I think I got it. Eraser. What was that again?
Control Z, try Control Z, Control Z.
Okay, no, that doesn't seem to work. Just give me 1 second. I'm sorry, guys.
Mataji, there's an eraser option on the top.
Yeah, I'm looking at that.
And also clear all. I think there's an option that you can click.
Oh, there you go. Thank you, Vishnupriya.
And I don't think you're doing this. I think some participant is doing this.
Really? Okay. So whoever that participant is, you can do this later on. Okay, so we're gonna go now to this. Okay, so 1 second, guys. Let me just go back, and I cleared all of it from my part. Clear all drawings. Okay, there we go. Okay, thank you for that, Vishnupriya. So we're now gonna move on to the application. Let me just go to the last one. Okay, I think, let me go to the previous slide. So here, remember, we looked at the methods. The next part is, see this part here? The application. Just give me a minute, guys. So let's move on to the next part of it. The application part. One second, guys. I'm just going to go ahead and clear that. Yeah, it seems like it's somebody else that's doing it. Okay, yeah. Vishnupriya, do you have any idea how they can not do that? Because I'm having to clear it all the time.
Yes, Mataji. I think there's an option that allows you to disable attendee annotation.
Okay, it says annotate. Just give me 1 minute. Oh yeah, I got it. Disable attendee. Oh, thank you so much. So I shouldn't have a problem with that now. Okay, so we're looking at now the application part of it. So we're looking at the 6 urges. Everybody with me thus far? So if you want to take notes, you can start. We're looking at the first part, which says the vachovegam. So vachovegam means the urge to speak. Now, if you all know, we all love to talk. Who doesn't love to talk? Everybody given a couple of minutes notice, they will carry on and on and on, talking. Sometimes you have to just tell them to stop. How many of us are good listeners? We are all good talkers, but there's very few of us that are actually good listeners, because if you are anything like me, we spend most of our time talking and not a whole lot of time listening. So we talk, and Srila Prabhupada in his Bhaktivedanta commentary on this text, he compares this talking. He says that the karmis, the materialistic persons, or the Mayavadi impersonalists, the jnanis, they talk and talk all the time. Just give me 1 second. I need to get my mouse. Okay. So he says that just give me 1 second, guys. I'm just needing to move my mouse. 1 second. Okay, I'm having a little bit of technical issues. Just 1 second. No, I think I'm doing that. Okay, I'm gonna go on to let's see if I can use it from here. Okay, I'm looking at the first one. The problem is the karmis and the jnanis. So the karmis and the jnanis, they talk. Do they talk about most part about Krishna conscious things? No, they don't. Most of what they have, oh, sorry guys, that is definitely me. I need to clear this.
Mataji, when you use the mouse,
Yes.
make sure you don't click it. You can just move it around, because the clicking will make the drawing lines.
Okay. You can see I'm not so techno skilled. Clear.
Is Gorangi not there?
Yeah, she is. I had to just call for her.
Okay.
1 second. 1 second. I'm sorry, guys. You can take this time to quickly look through all of the slides or all of the boxes on this slide. You need to get to clear. I know it's not letting me. Okay, guys, just give us a couple of minutes. Sorry. No, that's fine. Sorry, guys. It's not going. 1 second. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. Maybe you can take this time to just take a couple of minutes break. Just clear all of that. Clear, I think. It's not letting me. Maybe use the mouse.
Mataji will take 5 minutes break.
Yes. Yes, you may, Prabhu. You may. Thank you, guys. You can take Thank you, guys. I'm back on. And according to my technical assistant, the battery on my mouse died. So that was the problem. So I think we're still taking the break. Any questions, comments thus far? Anybody has anything that they'd like to add or share?
Is Bhagwat there? I think he wanted you to explain the last part of the last chart.
Just give me 1 second so I can use the mouse. You just used it. Okay, just give me 1 second. The last part, this 4 regulated principles. Bhagavat, are you on? Bhagavat, if you can come on and tell me what you need help with. Which one do you need help with? Hare Krishna.
The paramag.
Pancharatrika Tapasya, this one?
Yeah, and no, both of them.
Both of them. This is it's Sanskrit words. What it basically means in English is, in our Krishna conscious life, all the things that we can do and all the things that we cannot do. Does that make sense? Like the things we can do is chant, get up early in the morning, do our seva, be good students, be a good child, be a good devotee. That's all under the do's. The don'ts is don't eat meat, fish, or eggs. Don't have intoxication, illicit sexual activities, no gambling. Does that make sense to you, Bhagavat?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is just basically simple English for your level. You're what, like 5th grade, 5th, 6th grade? Basically, this is all the things that you can and cannot do, or all the things that you should or should not do in your devotee life. Okay, I think because of time constraints, I am gonna go ahead and move on. Yes, Prabhu.
Can I just make a comment, please?
Sure, sure.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment for everyone to know that the analogy of atonement in explained by the devotee just mentioned Chaitanya or something, and used that same analogy by Prabhupada not only in one place, in so many different places, in so many different books. So for me to say it is not right or something, a statement in that manner, I think is very rude. So we should choose the words very carefully when you are into this kind of topics or in a discussion among the devotees. So I just wanted to put that in there, in the mix, so that we understand, and when we talk or converse, we have to be very careful, especially how what kind of words and statement we make. So just have to be a little bit extra careful on that. Thank you so much.
Sure, Prabhu, you're most welcome for that. And I think I'm not sure whether he realized, I mean, my gathering was, and I don't know if, I think it's a big Gyan, Prabhu, I don't know if he's back on. And I think what I don't think, my understanding is, I don't think he realized that I had taken that from the Prabhupada's purport. I think he probably may have thought that I just made up these things. I'm not too sure. So that's my understanding. But it seemed like when I told him that was not like the real atonement, or that was just atonement, like Gopal Radhe Prabhu said, on the physical level or so, or mental level rather, he understood it better.
And just the last point, I had to make is that analogy is not even completed. That goes on to the further long way. So we have to wait till the teachers, the guides, who is explaining. So in my opinion, just wanted to say in brief that well done, Mataji. Thank you so much. Wait till the guide.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. May I say something on that, please?
Sure, just let Prachita Prabhu finish, Mataji. Just let him finish and then say something. Sure.
Thank you, Mataji. I'm done. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Mataji, you may go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, so I know Abhigan Prabhu is here in Alachua.
Oh,
So
okay.
he's a very new devotee. So
Oh.
he has just started practicing Krishna consciousness.
Uh-huh.
So he's now studying all the shastras and reading the books.
Okay.
And he's very sincere. So his intention was not to be rude or like challenging or what. So he's learning. He's very new.
Thank you, Mataji. We appreciate that. But I did gather that because
Yeah.
that when I spoke to him that it's in the purport, I don't think he realized that.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for clearing up that that doubt that we had. Thank you, Mataji.
You're welcome, Mataji.
If I can move on. So here we're looking at, and I think mostly everybody is still back on. I hope you had that 5-minute break. So let's just move on. So the power to, yes, Hare Krishna, going back. Now we're moving on to the application. How do these urges that we have, how do we tolerate these urges? We're now looking at the application. So the first part is that vacho vegam, the urge to speak. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that you get from karmis to jnanis. And I'm also going to say that even we devotees, all of us, we always have the urge to speak. Sometimes, horror of all horrors, it may not be Krishna consciousness stuff. We want to speak about other things, politics and entertainment and everything else. So Srila Prabhupada gives a beautiful example. He says it's like beautiful in that it's so horrifying in a sense. You know, I shouldn't even say beautiful. It's horrifying to think when you read the analogy, you think, oh my gosh, really? Srila Prabhupada says it's like when these karmis and jnanis and people talk about all the time nonsense things that are not related to Krishna. They can be compared to toads, like a frog, a toad. And the toad constantly croaks and croaks and croaks. And as the toad is croaking, what is it doing? It's inviting the snake. It's inviting the snake. It's inviting its own death. So it invites the snake of death to come and conquer it, kill it. So in the same way, Srila Prabhupada is advising us that we should, as much as, now what, that is the problem. So the problem you can see is constant talking about things that don't relate to Krishna consciousness. Now some of you may say, oh well, Mataji, can't I just take a vrat? Like there's this maun vrat, maybe I just won't talk. But how possible is that? That may be possible for a month, 2 months, maybe even a year, good couple of years. But after that, the urge to talk is part of us. It's inside of us. We have to talk to others. So what's the problem? Srila Prabhupada says, not silence. If you look at my slide, it says, and let me get the arrow here, the solution. So I'm going to look at all the problems, and with each problem, I'm going to look at the solution. What is the solution? The solution is not silence. The solution instead is to talk about everything that relates to Krishna. So when you talk, you make sure that you're talking about Krishna. Now, sometimes I'm going to be really practical. It can be in a different way. Like if I'm going out to buy flowers, I can look at the different flowers and see what I'm going to buy, but that's related to my spiritual life. So everything, as long as it's related to our service and Krishna, that is good talk. That means we're controlling that urge to talk in a good way. Basically, it spiritualizes our senses. We don't suppress our sense. We don't say, oh, I'm not going to talk because, you know, if I can't talk Krishna conscious things, I'm not going to talk. No. We make sure that whatever we talk, we relate it to Krishna. And in that way, Krishna says, and I just got, I'm going to look at my notes very quickly. In Bhagavad Gita, text 68 of the 18th chapter, Krishna becomes very pleased with us when we speak to others about him, about his glories. And Krishna says, we are sure to go back home. That means back to Godhead, back to Krishna. So what better incentive than to always talk about Krishna, so that we are sure that when time comes, we're going to go back to Krishna. So we can glorify, like the scriptures say, the names, the form, the qualities, the pastimes of Krishna. Now I'm going to put in a little bit of practicalities here as well. Sometimes we some of you may, and the school teacher part of me may just jump in, and I have young students in this class may say, but Mataji, you know, when I'm in school, my friends are not devotees. So what do you expect me to do? Can I just talk to my friend about Krishna when they're not interested in Krishna? I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is time, place, and circumstance. When you are in school, obviously you can't just get up and start only talking about Krishna. You are getting an education because you want to be smarter. You want to use your education in Krishna's service. So at that time, at that place, in that circumstance, you are doing the needful. Like I'm a school teacher, I teach American history, I teach Louisiana history. I'm obviously not going to go in front of the class and only talk about Krishna, because obviously I will get fired, but I'm doing that because that is my duty. And when I do that to the best of my ability, I'm serving Krishna in that way. So make sure as far as possible that we talk about Krishna and Krishna conscious activities. When you're going to be studying under Prangovinda Prabhu on Nectar of Devotion, you'll see also there's many do's and don'ts there. Like some of the things, if you have to talk about stuff that's not related to Krishna, at least if you're in the temple room, kindly move away from the temple room. Go to maybe the courtyard or the dining hall and do your talks there. So the next part I'm going to move on is controlling the demands of the mind. Like I told you, this is one of the most difficult things. What did I say? The initial goal is to control the mind. The mind, you're gonna see so many analogies in Bhagavad Gita. The mind is so chanchal, flickering, it's restless, it's all over the place. I'm going to quote Radhanath Maharaj. I love listening to him. And in one lecture, he says, you know, you can be a pujari on the altar. And if you could be, and everybody's looking at you doing the aarti, but you are thinking, oh, I wonder what I'm going to go eat after this. I wonder what my prasad is going to be. So you, instead of you doing the aarti and focusing, your mind is on something else. So this mind control, we cannot keep our minds as a vacuum. Our mind travels faster than the speed of light. One of the problems we have is some people say, well, just take all bad thoughts out of your mind. Just make your mind empty. Just keep, like people that practice transcendental TM, transcendental meditation, they say, make your mind a vacuum. Just focus on something else. But that's not possible because the mind can never sit still. The mind is always going here and there. So what's the solution to this? To meditate on the lotus feet of Krishna. And in the commentary, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada talks about the sun and Krishna. And I'm going to quickly find my book, and Srila Prabhupada says this. He says this, and I'm quoting firstly I'll quote from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishna Surya Sama Maya Haya Andakar. Yaha Krishna Taha Nahi Maya Adhikar. Krishna is just like the sun, and Maya is just like darkness. If the sun is present, there is no question of darkness. So Prabhupada uses the example of the sun. So whenever there is a sun, if you're in broad daylight, you're not going to see darkness, because where there is the sun, there is no darkness. In the same way, where there is Krishna, there is no Maya. Maya is going to be far away from your mind if your mind is just focused at the lotus feet of Krishna. So we have to always give our mind something to do. And again, practicality. Different devotees have different talents. What is something that's good for you in devotional service may not be something that I'm keen to do. Maybe you want to go out preaching. Maybe you want to do altar deity worship. Maybe somebody wants to cook for Krishna. Whatever you have to do, you can serve Krishna in different ways. See, one of the things that we have to realize is that our guru and devotees give us Krishna consciousness. But what we do with it, that rests upon us. Like, remember the beginning, I showed you those 9 stages of bhakti. We all not going to stay at the level of Shraddha. We all want to, our aim is to be that pure devotee. So we all want to move up and up and up those rungs of the ladder till we get finally to Krishna Prem. One other thing I was thinking about that helps us on a practical application is to plan. This is a way to control your mind. You can sort of trick your mind into doing this, is to plan your daily activities, to have a routine. Most of you now on this lockdown, you have time at home, you have time. So I would suggest plan. Today, plan for tomorrow. Okay, what is my plan? Keep a diary, have a journal, have a planner. Plan what you're going to do. When you plan and you stick to your plan, that helps you control your mind, because it gives your mind fixed things to do. And I'm quickly going to think of like a small child, like when the child runs around always troubling its mom, and the mom says, okay, there, take your toys. Now sit with your toys and play with your toys. So that child has now got something tangible to do, to play with his or her toys. So in the same way, treat your mind like that. Give your mind something to do. I'm moving on. I'm going to move on now. I'm looking, let me just quickly move on to the next one. And I'm moving to now Krodha. Krodha is the actions of anger. So one such thing that we have to always, none of us, I don't think there's any one of us in these classes that don't have, in this class today, that don't have a problem with anger. I think sometime or the other, even the very best of all of us, we have issues with this. Anger cannot be stopped. It rears its ugly head when we least expect it. And that is the real test. When somebody upsets you, when somebody makes you angry and upset, how, remember we said your attitude helps you in advance. What is your attitude? So what is your attitude? How do you deal with it when you get angry, when someone makes you angry or something makes you angry? How do you respond? In the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that the best solution is to apply this anger against the blasphemers. And he goes on to give examples of how Mahaprabhu took action against Jagai and Madai, how Hanuman burnt down the whole of Lanka, and how Krishna incited or urged Arjuna to fight. So you can go ahead and read those analogies, but Prabhupada says that that is one way to deal with our anger. I'm going to be a little bit practical as well here and say that sometimes it's difficult. Like, how many of us can really stand up to somebody that's blaspheming ISKCON or saying, sometimes we should have, I should say, a good knowledge. We should be able to speak well. And if we meet someone that's inimical against ISKCON or inimical against our philosophy, instead of being angry, we should try to talk to them in an intelligent way. Drive away their misconceptions in an intelligent way. And if all else fails, then just politely leave the place, walk away, or maybe just get back to that person and say, I'm very sorry that you have these feelings about my philosophy. I wish I could help you make sense of it. Can I get back to you, or can I refer you to someone else that will help you better understand our philosophy? I don't think any of us want to now, start taking out our anger on someone. I don't think any of us, I should speak for myself as well, that is as qualified to do that. And one other thing I was saying, only Srila Prabhupada is qualified to call people rascals and get away with it. I don't think any of us can do that. So because Srila Prabhupada was obviously a pure devotee, and we can't do that. Another way, I should say, is a better way to channel your anger is to direct your anger inwards. If you are upset, out of everybody, be upset with yourself. Be upset that you are not being the best devotee. Be upset that you are probably not following properly. So try to put that anger inwards. I hope that makes sense to all of you. I'm looking at my time constraints. I just want to move on. The next one, which I think we all, especially those of us that live in ISKCON, New Orleans, we have tons of problems with this, because we always have a big problem controlling our tongues. We are fed or given such sumptuous prasadam every time we go to the temple. And anytime visitors come, they just love all of the prasad we have. So our problem is that how do we control this urge of the tongue? Some of us are forced to eat in stores or shops that don't sell devotee prasad. What do we do? How do we control this? The best way of controlling it is to eat Krishna prasad. The best way to control, and while I'm talking, I'm just quickly looking at the chat. Okay, we seem to be doing good. So the best solution is always to eat Krishna prasad, to make sure that it's offered food. And look at these last two boxes. Be grateful when Krishna supplies. We should all be thankful. That's why we sing that Avidya Ja. We thank Krishna for his mercy. That's what prasadam means. We honoring Krishna's mercy. We accepted his mercy. And one important thing, I'm sorry for that. We just need to get rid of this. One important thing is we need to eat at scheduled times. So we should try to do that. Just control. Now, in the same breath, I'm going to say, when we try to control our tongues, we have to be very careful as devotees in what we eat. We can't just eat everything and anything. We should try to just make sure we don't eat too opulent, too sumptuous prasad. Like too much of everyday pizza, pasta, paneer, all of that. No, we should try to eat very simple. And later on, if time willing, I'm going to read a letter where Srila Prabhupada talks about this. So here we looked at controlling the urge to speak, controlling the urge of the mind, controlling anger, controlling the urge to just eat anything and everything. And the last one is Udara. That means controlling. Well, the belly goes under jiva, which is controlling the urge to eat and controlling the urge of the tongue and belly. And the last one is controlling the urge of the genitals. So here, if you look at it, the purport tells you that this tongue, belly, and genitals is in a straight line. So if you control the tongue, if you are able to control the urges of the tongue, automatically the urge of the belly and the genitals get controlled. And Srila Prabhupada says that we should just make sure that we don't engage in any illicit sexual activity. And within the confines of marriage, it is also to procreate, to get Krishna conscious children. So, and one other quick thing, if I have time, I think I do, I'm going to talk a little bit about Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj's purport as well, because this is, his commentary is also in the purport. Any questions? Anybody can, you can turn your mic on if you have a quick question. But I think I've given you all the problems we have with the 6 urges, and I've given you the corresponding solutions. Also, one other quick thing, we also control the tongue by fasting. At a Nirjala Ekadasi, we fast, we do things like that. Yes, was there a question? Is somebody's mic on? Do you have a question? Yes. Yes, Madhurima.
I had a question.
Yes.
What did you say about the jiva?
Oh, this is the urge. It's jiva, the urge to eat stuff that's not Krishna prasad. We always want to eat opulent. We always want to eat rich. We always want to eat like outside of our homes and temples. So the best way there, Srila Prabhupada says, to control the urge of your tongue. To control the urge of your tongue means to only take Krishna prasad. When you eat Krishna prasad, because it's Krishna's mercy, Krishna's offering, you find that helps you. Does that make sense, Madhurima?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, there was another question coming through.
Mataji, this is Abhigyan.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I want to ask about, what did you say about the solution of Krodha when you said Hanuman and Arjuna?
Yes, there were different solutions. Hanuman and Arjuna and Jagai and Madai, those analogies were given in the purport where they used anger in a beneficial way. Like Hanuman, he used his anger in a good way to burn down Lanka, okay? Arjuna used his anger in a good way to fight. Jagai and Madai were blasphemers, and the Lord used anger there in a good way. So that, but I also gave the point that in this day and age, maybe many of us are obviously not qualified at that level. So if we meet a blasphemer or somebody that's against Krishna consciousness, we have to use our intelligence in preaching to them. If we find that they are inimical, they're not understanding us, we can always just refer them to someone else. We can give them more literature, or we can always refer them to someone else that can help us preach to them. That was one solution that I gave. And another solution, I said, use your anger to channel your anger inside yourself. Like, be angry, not at others, be angry at yourself. And one other quick point, sometimes when we get angry at devotees, I'm sorry, I should have mentioned this as well. We tend to commit sometimes aparad, Vaishnava aparad, which is a very bad aparad. It's like the elephant offense, you know, we destroy that creeper of bhakti that's growing. So there, if we offend any devotee, we should always be trinadapi sunichena, be very humble, always go and ask for forgiveness. Always think that I am more tolerant, always be more humbler than a blade of grass. Always take the humble position. So when you do that, there's hardly any time that you will ever be angry. Okay, does that make sense? Any other questions? Okay, I'm gonna briefly go through this because I have a short quiz for you guys, and I see I don't have too much of time. So I'm gonna just, you can read up more on this slide in the actual purport. This is a little bit more detailed, because if you're familiar with Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj's purport, you will notice that Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj always takes things a step further. So here he gives the same as Prabhupada, how to control the urge to talk. He says Hari Katha, which is self-explanatory. Read about Krishna, speak about Krishna. The mind, he says, the mind is very unrestricted. We want all these material desires, unrestricted attachment to everything. And because of that, the next type of trouble with the mind is that we get angry when these desires, we get frustrated when these material desires are not fulfilled. And then he says, body, the urges of the tongue, belly, genitals. Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj goes a step further. He talks about the different types of foods. Don't eat too spicy. Don't have intoxication. Don't visit a person's house where you know you're only going to get a whole lot of sumptuous, like they use the word rich person, where you're going to get delicious, rich prasad. So he says, just eat very simply. The belly, he says, fast, because it's going to give you, if you eat indiscriminately, just anything and everything. Srila Prabhupada gave the example to Saraswati. She was a small child, and he said, Saraswati, your mouth is like your mouth reminds me of a garbage truck, because every time your mouth is just moving like the back of a garbage truck. So we don't want our mouths to be like that. We want to put Krishna Prasad. And then he talks about the genitals. Legally taking care of that is that getting married and having Krishna conscious children. So I need to move on. The final conclusion of this preface and the text 1 is that we can only serve one master. And who that master is depends on us. Is that master going to be on the left, our senses, or is that master going to be Krishna? Are you going to be a servant, a Godas, a servant of your senses, or are you going to be a Goswami, controller of your senses? You have to decide that. Krishna consciousness and what you have been given, this most precious gift, is in your hands. You have to decide. You have to decide which path you're going to take. And let me just quickly say that don't wait for opportunities for devotional service. Don't wait for opportunities. Always go ahead and grab it. Whichever temple you belong to, don't sit back and wait for somebody to approach you to do devotional service. You take the step forward. You see what you are interested in, and you contact the management and you suggest what you would like to do. And if they give you permission, then go ahead and do that service. Don't be lackadaisical. Don't wait for service to fall into your lap, because it's not going to happen. You have to, when you chant the holy names, you will have to You are praying to Krishna to, oh, energy of God, oh, divine energy, please engage me in your service. So you have to take that step forward. That's my advice for all of you. Let me quickly see what's my next part. Okay, I'm going to go ahead. I have a few letters to read, but I'm going to come. Let me just read one of it because we have a 10-question quiz that I want to fit in. This is Srila Prabhupada's letter to Gargamuni, and I will send you the rest of the letters in the PowerPoint so you can read it at your own time. I do not know what you are eating, and this is within the green block if you want to follow. Srila Prabhupada says to Gargamuni, my dear Gargamuni, I do not know what you are eating, but the eating program should be nutritious and simple, not luxurious. That means chapati, dal, vegetables, some butter, some fruits, and milk. This is necessary for keeping good health. But we should not indulge in sweet balls or halwa or like that daily. Too much first-class eating may stimulate our sex desires, especially sweet preparations. Anyway, eat Krishna Prasad, but be careful that we may not indulge in luxury. For Krishna, we can offer the most beautiful preparations, but for us, prasadam should be very simple. I think that's the line we should take with us from this letter, that for Krishna, we should give him the best, but for us, we should eat simply. And I have just one quick thing here that I want to quickly look at to control the mind. This is what Srila Prabhupada said that Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, my Guru Maharaj used to say that just rise early in the morning and then kick the mind with a shoe 100 times. Then while going to sleep, one should take a broomstick and strike the mind another 100 times. So guys, remember 100 times with the shoe in the morning, 100 times with the broomstick at night. That is sure to keep Maya away. And last but not least, Srila Prabhupada writes to a new practicing devotee and he says this method is so easy. And I'm paraphrasing because of time constraints. Srila Prabhupada says, just chant the Mahamantra, hear lectures, and we hear lectures from the spiritual master and read his books. This is the easy method for controlling the mind. What are we doing? Shravanam and Kirtanam. We are hearing and chanting. So that's how we should fix our mind. And okay, this is going to be the homework and I will send it to you. You have to, let me just see, this is my email. It can be at least minimum 1 paragraph, but more than 1 paragraph is fine. Discuss the importance of controlling the 6 urges. So why should you control the 6 urges? Why is it important to control the 6 urges? And this part I want to hear. What practical steps are you taking to control these 6 urges? So what are you doing? So why is it important to control the 6 urges? And what practical steps are you taking? So that's going to be your homework. And just okay, my email, if any of you would like it, and I will send it to you. I've got 10 minutes to go, so I will send you this in an email, my email, and you can always text or email me, whichever works for you. We're now gonna go to the pop-up quiz. So let's go ahead, guys. Okay. You have a couple of questions. You can go ahead and get started. There's 10 questions. You can just click on the answer. Can everybody see the quiz? Is anyone not able to see the quiz, or is everyone seeing the quiz? If someone can just put their mics on and let me know, thank you.
Yes, Mataji,
Yes, we can see.
Oh, thank you, thank you. I'm sure you're all going to get 100%. And if anybody needs help, I can help you.
Mataji, so when we finish our quiz, we just submit it and you can see what we got, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll be able to see which question. I wouldn't be able to see what individual students answered. I'll just be able to see which answers were chosen.
Okay.
Which students chose, like which was the most popular answer. So I can see like which ones students did not get. So far, I'm looking at your answers. You're all doing a great job.
Haribol Mataji?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Mataji, you can continue if you want like another 10 minutes because
Yes.
for the Bengali, there is a different group. I can just start it for them. So it shouldn't be a
Okay.
problem.
Sure, sure. Thank
Yes.
you, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Oh, and just know that when we're done with the quiz, I will go over all of the answers at the end.
Would we know how many we got the correct one, or
Yes,
there's
if you know which answers you chose, at the end of it, just straight after the quiz is done, I will put up all the right answers. If you are done and you're waiting for the others to get done, can I just ask you to take this time, since it's the last couple of minutes, to just reflect on what you have learned today? And I would like at least a few of you to please share with all of us some reflections. What is it that you are going to take away from this class? What you have learned today? Maybe even something that you didn't know before that you learned for the first time, or maybe even something that got you really thinking. You knew about it, you forgot about it, or it just got you thinking. I think I am ready to go over my answers. Okay, we're just waiting on another like 8 more students to finish up. So if they can just finish up. For those of you that are much younger and you don't understand the questions, just make an educated guess. And when I go over the answers, you can see which is the correct answer. Okay, I'm just waiting for another 6. Okay, just the last few more. And thank you so much for, I hope we can just, you can allow me to go ahead and finish off the whole class, like with the reflections and everything, even though we do run the risk of going over time. But Gopal Radhe Prabhu said that's okay. Manjari, I'm not too sure why it keeps restarting. I'm sorry that that's happening to you. Okay, I'm just waiting on the final 3, and then I will quickly go over the answers. Okay, I think I'm ready to go ahead. So I'm just going to end the poll because of time constraints, and we will quickly look at the answers, and then we'll take reflections. So let's look at these are the answers now. We just give me 1 second. Can you all see that? So we're looking at the first one. The Krishna consciousness movement is conducted under the supervision of, and the answer was C, Sri Rupa Goswami. So everyone that attempted that question, you can see everybody had that right. The next one was, just give me 1 minute. Upadeshamrita means, and obviously that was D, which was nectar of instruction, and almost everybody had that right. 3, in spiritual affairs, one's first duty is here, like you do in school. There's some answers which are quite close. So I see some of you chose to always remember Krishna, but higher than that, according to the purport, one's first duty is to, and this is going to be the answer, which is D, to control the mind and senses. If you remember the preface, Srila Prabhupada's letter, he says one's first duty is to control the mind and senses. Number 4, in advancement in Krishna consciousness, primarily depends on the attitude of the follower. And all of you had that right, which was A. And we're moving on. Just give me 1 second, guys. This is not my computer, so okay, just right. 5, a Goswami is one. I'm sorry, there was a typographical error there. A Goswami is one who is master of his senses. And I see a lot of you got that right. 6, real atonement means, go all the way, 6, okay. Real atonement means, which is awakening our dormant Krishna consciousness. So I hope you got that right. So 6 is C, awakening our dormant Krishna consciousness. That is real awakening. I'm sorry, real atonement. Why am I saying awakening? Real atonement, I'll say that again. Real atonement means awakening our dormant Krishna consciousness. 7, which is not one of the 6 urges, and almost all of you chose that, actions of greed. 8, the mind can naturally be controlled when we always think of Krishna and serve him best. Most of you chose that. And 9, which one of the following is the correct translation of Nectar of Instruction, text 1? It is the second one. A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals is qualified to make disciples all over the world. I must say that this was quite a lot to read. Therefore, you may have chosen the wrong answer. And also because of time constraints, I did not give you enough time to look at the answers. So if you got this one wrong, don't be too hard on yourself. The last one, which was such an easy one, true or false. The first three texts of Nectar of Instruction deal with Shraddha. And if you got that right, the answer was, let me just move up to that. The answer was true. And almost all of you got that right. So we're just going to X out of this, get out of that, and let's see what's my next part. Okay, that's the end of it. Can I, before we do anything else, I just want to take this time, and since we, all of us are together, before we reflect and read and share reflections, I just want to take this opportunity to wish a very, very beautiful, loving devotee of Lord Krishna a very, very happy birthday. And this is to you, dear Manjari. Happy birthday from all of us. And maybe we can all turn our mics on and wish her
Happy birthday, Manjari.
very, very happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Manjari.
Happy birthday,
Happy
Manjari.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday, Manjari.
Happy birthday.
And
Manjari,
Manjari.
happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Manjari, I speak on behalf of
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Manjari. I'm going to speak on behalf of all the devotees to say that we are so lucky that you chose to spend 2 hours of your special day in our company. Thank you so much. You are a wonderful devotee and always serve the lotus feet of Sri Sri Radha Radha. Have a blessed day. Before I end off, I would send
Thank you,
you.
Mataji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Before I end off, is there anyone that would like to share some reflections? If you can spare 1 or 2 minutes, that helps me as well. If we just, and I know we over time by 4 minutes. Is there anyone that would want to share their reflections, what they've learned from this class? Any suggestions where they'd like to see any improvements? Anyone willing to share some things with us? Some thoughts? Is there anyone?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes, Krishna Priya.
Thank you so much for such a wonderful class. My reflection is that one of the things that I will really remember from today's class was when you said how to control your anger by channeling it inwards.
Mm-hmm.
I think I always forget to do that, and that's really important. So I'll try to remember that and try to practice that more. So thank you, Mataji, for that.
That was wonderful, Vishnupriya. Thank you. I think, yes, if we all just look at ourselves first before we look at anybody else, we can make tremendous progress. Thank you for sharing that with us. Anyone else wants to share? And please.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare
Krishna.
Mathura Chandrika.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Such a wonderful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm trying my best.
I want to say, I'm taking this point. You mentioned advancement in Krishna consciousness depend on the attitude of the follower. So when we go to temple, we face so many things which makes us upset. So it's all about attitude, how we're taking. So I really like that point. So I'll take that. And as you mentioned that we can choose what to associate and who to associate and who not to.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if we get angry, get mad at yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's all about attitude, which will help us to Krishna consciousness.
Thank you, Mathura Chandrika Mataji. That was really so nice. That was beautiful points. Thank you. Anybody else would like to share before we close for the evening? And thank
Mataji,
you.
Hare Krishna. This is Jagannath.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, thank you for this wonderful class. It was very professional, especially with the PowerPoint. It's very convenient for me, at least.
Sure.
And it's also very important to have Krishna Prasad in that way. we can always, it's best way to control our senses.
Yes, yes, most definitely. Thank you so much. You do see I'm still learning. So thank you so much. Thank you. Is there anyone else that wants to share? Anybody else would like to share with the rest of the class?
Hare Krishna Mataji. I'm just sending my email, so just send me the material or the notes to me.
Yes, just
Thank you,
one.
Mataji. Wonderful time.
Thank
Thank you.
you, Prabhu. Thank you to all of you. And I will send you the PowerPoint. Just make sure to send me your email address so I know who to send it to. And I don't want to take any more time. If there's no one else that wants to share anything with us, anybody else for any comments? No? Okay, thank you so much. And I will meet all of you again time. Hare Krishna. Thank you for giving me your time. I will meet you again 2 Saturdays from today, June the 20th, which is also, I think, an auspicious day. It's a half a day fast. It's either an appearance or disappearance of one of our previous acharyas. So we'll meet on June the 20th at 4 p.m. And please make sure to, I will send you, you have to send me your email so I can send you the homework. Please make sure to send me your email and I will send you, the homework, and I should have all of the homework graded by then. Thank you so much, Krishna. Please have a wonderful evening and a great weekend. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the class.